Power draining of a Harbor Freight thermometer with laser targeting. So I have one of these Harbor Freight infrared thermometers, and it was draining the batteries even when off. So whatever auto off features in there, it was broken. So my goal is to break continuity in the power circuit with a little micro switch. So there's a screw there, not there, that's a sensor, and a screw there. And this shell pops apart. And then there's also these contacts there still. And then there's 4 little screws on the PCB in those corners that when those are removed, this whole PCB will pop out. And then the goal is to interrupt the positive somewhere. So I did see a trace going from the positive battery bar to a component, and for some reason I wasn't thinking at the time and didn't realize that was a capacitor. And here's a Philmore little tiny micro switch number 309184 that I'm going to use for this mod. And initially I was thinking I'd put it somewhere in the back, like around this point. And getting the board up to start desoldering, I was following that trace, found the first component, and that little blue desoldering little suction device. And my welder that can get really hot. It's pretty easy to desolder things or remove solder. And I was having a really bad time for some reason this time around. And thankfully I was, because for some reason I didn't realize at the time that that was a capacitor. Maybe I just thought it was an inductor or something. And there's no way this circuit is in series with the capacitor. So there must have been a positive trace parallel that I didn't see initially. And so I stopped with the capacitor attempt after these failed tries anyways, and needed to go a different approach. And so on to the different approach. I realized that the battery bus bars at the bottom are just a single unit, and that's to make the 2 batteries in series. So I just pulled it out with this little like prick tool from also from Harbor Freight, and decided I'm going to cut this in the middle and also trim some off to make a nice little air gap, insulative air gap, and solder some wires that I'm running through this hole that they already had in that location. And here I'm kind of debating, can I put the switch at the bottom? I've never been confused for being smart, so obviously wasn't thinking that through. And ultimately I was even thinking about putting it in the back there. And then I realized I can just run the wires up to the left side over here, and there's plenty of room to put a nice ergonomically placed switch in that location. So I can run those wires, solder them up, and then solder them up to the switch. So on to soldering to either side of this battery bar and wiring it to that switch. And I'll save you the gruesome video of trying to solder to this dirty metal, but eventually I got it to work. And there you can see a little bump that kind of locks it in to the frame, and then I've trimmed off a lot. And here's a result of dremeling. I used that cutter bit. Initially I tried with a wheel, and that was a big mistake. Don't do it. So use this drill bit instead. Has little louvers. It makes it easy to like edge away and elongate and widen a hole. And definitely doesn't look pretty, and that's the initial scarring from the wheel. But I made it a nice tight pressure fit in there and some super glue to keep it that way. And now for a quick op test, the only AAAs I have on hand are actually these kind of like fancy lithium ion batteries that have a built-in BMS and built-in surge protection, which is kind of actually good for this testing in case, I didn't do something right. These batteries aren't going to let things go snap, crackle, and pop. So loaded up the batteries, and let's give this thing a quick test spin. And here we go. Checking that trigger, still feels good. Turned it on. I do mean to flip that orientation around because I rather have up be on and down be off. And there you go. It effectively took the temperature of the tablecloth. And normally if you just leave this gun alone, it will turn off. The screen will turn off automatically, and there is no OEM on off switch. So the screen will get like that, and you would assume that it's off, and the batteries would still drain. So you would come back to a dead gun, a week or a month later. So just doing a quick op test again, and yeah, boots up, runs, takes a reading and holds on the screen. And now I have this mains power interrupt, like a good brute force way of making sure that this isn't going to drain batteries anymore. Thanks for watching the video, and see you around.